Is there any additions or corrections? If not, everybody please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes stand approved. First matter of discussion. Discussion relative to the utilization and funding of Housing Choice Voucher HCV Program Section 8. Patrick?
It's Mr. Chairman, I serve as the Executive Director of the CDA, which oversees our housing in terms of from the CDA's perspective, but Steve handles the day-to-day operations of housing and the voucher program, and Danielle Carrington in our team. On Friday, we received a communication from our representative from HUD that was addressed to Jerry Motter and staff about our utilization of our voucher program. And we're in kind of unprecedented territory in terms of the extra funding that Section 8 has received. You can kind of see our funding for this year is around 3.9. I think traditionally we've been in the 3.2, 3.3 realm. And the HUD has a goal of, they'd like to see 100% utilization. We're in the 80s at this point in terms of utilization. Our team is doing a great job. They recently did a open enrollment to get more a fresher waiting list for the Section 8 program. They've increased our payment standard to 120% of the fair market standard, and they're offering landlords incentives. I think there was a previous meeting where the CDA made some amendments to our administrative plan to help get more utilization of the program. But I'm going to kind of turn it over to Steve here, and he can talk about, what are some of the comments from HUD and where we're going, and looking for some direction. Yeah.
Well, good summary, Patrick. And honestly, the bottom line is that HUD is just telling us to spend 100% of our available money. We have, roughly about $400,000 in reserves, and as Patrick alluded to, the staff has done a number of things with our administrative plan to help try to bolster and get more vouchers out the door. The problem is that not everybody can always find a voucher. If once the person has submitted their eligibility requirements and got through the paperwork, then they go out in the West Dallas to look for an apartment. And if they can't find an apartment, whether it's a issue with maybe their soft skills or with as far as finding a landlord that's willing to rent to them, or maybe it's just the shortage of supply. The issue is that that voucher goes unused, and they've got basically 120 days with an extension to find a home. And if they can't do it, then that voucher expires, and we go back to the list and further try to exhaust the list over time. So the problem is, I think, it's not for lack of staff not trying some new things to try to get more utilization and increase our success rate. I think some of the problem is could be some of our tenants and their in terms of their ability to find an apartment. Could be the housing supply. There's a number of things. So one of the things we're thinking about doing, in addition, the things that were approved in our admin plan are fairly recent. The landlord incentives, the increasing the fair market rents value. So some of that is relatively new. So that will help spend down some of that reserve. But some of the other things, when we have group briefings here at City Hall, we have usually about 10 to 15 people that come in. We go over how you sort of go out and find a house, exercise that voucher, get it, go over the requirements for that. We were thinking about maybe just trying to get attention of some of our landlords, maybe to have almost like you would at a job fair. You have some landlords, a handful of landlords here that are looking for tenants, and bring them in, try to align them with residents. Is one idea. Another idea was, we're going to be hiring a new housing navigator person, so we are shorter staffed. That should help. And then another idea was to consider outsourcing some of our housing quality inspections to a private consultant. We do about 500 housing inspections per year for the HCV Section 8 program. And if we were to save staff some of that time, if they're going out inspecting something, person's there, the person's not there, or the thing fails, they need a reinspection. There's a lot of back and forth with housing inspections, and we could perhaps save some additional staff time, focus more on the landlord relationships, our tenant relationships, trying to again build that, increase that success rate. Those are some of the ideas. If there's any questions, I guess Patrick gave a great summary of of the issue. The bottom line is HUD saying spend all your money.
So what Steve's, if you look at our waiting list, we are calling people off, and it's around a 55% positive in terms of people will lease up, but it's taking too much time in terms of HUD's perspective to draw down money. We only get an admin fee when the units are leased. So when we do brief people, give them a voucher and say go look, and they don't lease up, that's all just costs of admin that go nowhere, and we make $70 per month
So
per
we want
unit.
to be successful.
We want to be successful. That just pays for the program in itself.
Yeah.
Is the only, we have been profitable in our housing authority in terms of making more admin money than what we're spending, but at the same time, it can only be used for Section 8 purposes. It almost appears like you're spinning the wheels because there's an attrition rate. So many people are falling off each month as we're adding people. So it's a perpetual, almost feels like you're spinning your wheels, trying to find new people to be put on the program. We're going to talk a little bit about this a little bit later, but market rate demand is influencing the landlords in our community to keep increasing rent because there's a market rate demand. So when you're trying to find people that affordable housing, I mean, it's easier to probably just go lease for a market rate than to do all the paperwork for a Section 8 program. So we're looking at all those various things. Now, there's also the fact, and this is up to the CDA and staff, is, okay, HUD, we're sorry. We just can't spend that much money. There's that aspect. The only bad thing about that is we're scored on how we utilize that money. And they can downgrade our housing authority to a lower level, and then we get less money each year. Now, that can be bad. It depends on the perspective. But there is definitely a need. How many people did we put on the waiting list this last time?
There were 3,000 people.
So, I mean, there is a need. The problem is there's an evolution. It's probably nationwide going on in the housing market. We all know there's a housing demand. Market rate's strong. Single family is strong. Maybe there's ways we can look at putting vouchers into a project base. So maybe an older apartment building that maybe is at the current rental rates, and we can help underwrite some of the property and make it more stable with vouchers. We've done that to Beloit Road, senior housing complex with project-based vouchers. So there are creative ways that we can utilize these funds. Nothing's the quick fix other than just getting people leased up. But we are working, but HUD is monthly checking in with our team and kind of red flagging us because we're not hitting the benchmarks they would like to see.
And I don't know that we're unique. I've asked HUD that before, and then show us a high performer, or maybe show us we can't be the only one that's experiencing this. So, but
Mr. Chair?
yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Steve, who does the housing inspections at this time?
Our housing staff, so Amy, Rob, and our soon-to-be hired housing navigator. So we have basically three staff persons, and the majority of those inspections are all within the city of West Dallas. However, there are some people that were on our program that ported out, or veterans that live outside the city of West Dallas and live in the city of Milwaukee. We have our housing staff going to the city of Milwaukee in some of these cases, and it's a tremendous amount of labor, staff time.
Inspections take time.
Not everybody's always at that. When you say that I'm going to be here at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, sometimes people are there, but sometimes they forget or didn't put it in their calendar. So it's a lot of running around. So that's just one of the ideas that we're exploring.
Go ahead, Ms. Donner.
Is the staff time associated with those inspections billable to HUD?
Yes, I mean it's basically
It's your admin
Comes
fee.
out of that.
Yeah, it comes out of the admin. Yeah.
Comes out of the 70.
Mhm.
So if we were to outsource that to a third party, does that come out of the HUD funds?
Yes.
So so if we do it ourselves, we can't charge HUD. But if we outsource it, we can charge HUD.
Yeah, I mean either way, I mean that our admin fee is paying for our staff, or I mean the reserve.
It sounds like if we,
program
no
income
matter
is-
how we handle
yeah.
inspections, we get $70.06 admin fee.
Yeah.
But if we outsource our inspections, we get to charge that outsourced fee to HUD.
Yes, yeah.
remember I said we make more admin fee than we actually utilize currently. So we have an admin reserve of around
That's the 400.
over 400,000.
Mr.
So-
Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Patrick.
No.
Oh, you're fine.
Couple questions. How is it that our allocation went up? Did we ask for more, or they just gave us more?
They've been telling us it's unprecedented year for gals. I mean, there are some reserves there, but they're saying that the federal government is pouring a lot of money into,
So they gave us more money, and they're expecting us to perform.
yeah,
To
we'll give you some more
understand.
vouchers, we'll give you some more money, and, go out and,
They gave us more about, and you said if somebody gets a voucher and they can't utilize it and use it in 120 days, it doesn't vaporize, it goes back into our kitty?
we would, that person loses that voucher.
That
and then we
voucher, the voucher still exists.
Call the next
Yeah.
We
person
can
on
give
the
it,
list.
we can give
Yeah.
it to the next person.
So we're approved for 638 vouchers.
Yeah.
And we're only, it's July at 5/21, but we lose people mid-month and
Yeah.
deaths and things like that, so.
And then a general market question. How long do apartments, say at Upper Flat in West, we're talking about a lot of kind of duplexy things here, right? A lot of this is. How long does one stay on the market? It seems to me, I see people all the time, on social media at least, hey, looking for a 2-bedroom there, I can take my dog. Is, because we all know the market's hot, right? So the fact that the landlords are renting up their space without having to go into the voucher, have a voucher tenant, says a good thing about the city or the market in general.
That's the market demand I was kind of talking about. You're competing against strong market and
Yeah.
trying to help.
We need to build more apartment buildings, apparently.
Yeah, we're working on it.
But this is for informational purposes. It's an important issue because this goes back to, they laid off during COVID on this issue. Now we're coming out and now they're like, okay, we want you to start spending money quicker. I mean, this happened before the transition to Steve. It was with Luke as well. They're adamant, you got to get more utilization. And our team has been trying.
Do you
But now
ask
it's-
HUD, do they have a best practices? They say, West Dallas, these are the things you're missing, here's the checklist of things you should be doing?
That's part of the reason we have that monthly check-in with our HUD rep, and, we're asking questions of them, they're pointing out things that, we could do, and some of the things that we worked on with that admin plan, like the landlord incentives and
Yeah.
increasing the fair market rent allowances, those are some suggestions that, we had talked and collaborated with them and implemented within our admin plan.
We even, I think Steve and I talked about transportation or childcare sometimes is tough when you're trying to go find housing units. And maybe we give a voucher to take Uber out to the place or bus tickets or something. We go, the day they're here for briefings, they're in their city. And if we can get them leased up quick, that's the advantage. But if we let them go and then they're working or they have trouble getting to look at a unit or they miss it, then the landlord doesn't want to take that person again to meet. I mean, and these units are going quick that are out there, so it's an interesting situation.
Don, go ahead.
So, the last time you came before the committee, you had asked for approval to make changes in some of the strategies. Here, there appears to be some changes in strategies. Are you looking for our permission to make those changes?
Nothing yet. This just came last Friday. But since we have CDA tonight and it was adjusted to the chair, it should be communicated and shared with the members of the authority. Just because when they score us and we don't spend all the money and we drop, one of our measurements is, I think, was it 85 and above for CMAP? And this is a number that if you don't hit a certain benchmark on utilization, it gives us a 0 and it brings down that score. So we want to be in good standing, but we're doing everything we have.
I want to call your attention to it. We made changes to the admin plan that's working, but it's still early. We'll see how it goes. And just wanted to bring this to your attention because this was just a very timely communication we got from Mike.
All right. Okay, then we'll go to item number 2, resolution to approve professional engineering design services contract with Aris and Associates for design of parking lot at 6600 West Mitchell Street in the amount of $50,000. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn this one over to Sean. I think last meeting we kind of discussed about this parking lot area, and we're working towards a resolution on that, and this is a step to help us advance this project. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so this is a proposal. There's a 1.5 acre parcel east of 6771 CDA owned former Kearney Trekker building, and also south of Oak Brewing. That the concept is to build out a parking lot to help support the redevelopment of the large, 42,000 square foot building, and to help support Oak as well. It would be in the number of parking stalls created would be in that 150, 175 parking stall range. Again, that parcel is also CDA owned, the 1.5 acre parcel. The thought right now in working with Baum Revision, who the CDA has a letter of intent with on 6771, is that the CDA would retain ownership of this parcel and build out the parking lot to support the redevelopment, the major investment that will be going in next door, as well as OPS. And so in order to do that, we contacted a number of design engineering firms to get bids, to get estimates for to design the parking lot. And so Ayers came in the lowest. And we also had bids from AECom as well, and this was significantly lower than the others that we received. So,
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
So the blue line isn't really what we're talking about. We're talking about just the rectangle that would be.
it comes down. Yep.
Because Baum Revision would eventually potentially own the long skinny parcel.
Yep.
But we're just talking about the parking lot. So this isn't like designing the front entrance. Where would Baum's front door be?
Yep.
Yeah, so that it'd be important that all kind of fits together there, so traffic flows well. And there'd be is that going to be a shared use driveway coming in from one driveway for
Yep.
both buildings?
Right. Yep. So there's they'd consolidate to one driveway, one shared driveway that would have a drive that runs north south from Nashville to Mitchell.
And the only other entrance would then be to Mitchell. There wouldn't be anything onto whatever,
Nothing up.
66, whatever that.
Over here?
No,
68.
68.
No, yeah, nothing over there.
If anything, there might be a request. I think they mentioned to us like a loading spot.
Yeah, yes.
For like if you're delivering flowers or something.
Oh, I can see that.
Just
yeah.
kind of an
Yeah, like
on-street.
a person door, just to. So there's going to be no pedestrian access on the west side of that building.
Correct.
And
They did talk about some access up here.
Yeah,
that might
on
be-
National.
Yeah, on National. But do we know what this parking lot? Have we told them what this parking lot's going to? We're not talking about key card access. We're just talking about just kind of a parking lot. They're doing the lighting plan too.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and stormwater and
Yes.
all that.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Niemer.
Where's the access to the parking lot?
On Mitchell,
Kind of be two.
There's two there currently on Mitchell, and then also through here. There's also access through here at one point.
Would the Mitchell Street access remain?
most likely there would be some access from Mitchell. I'm not sure if it would just be where the two-way drive is that would come out. It might just be that, and then you turn right in. That's part of the design process.
So the current access to open and the other parcel is through this shared drive, and that would be the only access to the parking lot?
From National.
From National.
Right.
But there
Yes.
There would remain an access point from Mitchell.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Chicken and egg question. If the former Kearney and Trekker facility is not redeveloped, would we be building a parking lot?
No. This is for that redevelopment. It's like a parking structure, a TIFT parking structure for an office building or
Not any different than what we did for Ren Fair or Summit Place in helping support the the parking structures at those developments, which today are sitting empty.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The thing here is, they get this 50% occupied by a design architect, not architectural firm, but an event firm with, how many staff?
30.
30 staff members and people coming to plan their events. We also represented to OPE that this would also include some shared parking for their venue. They have 10,000 square feet, and we've seen this entire thing parked up for that.
Bro.
So we have people coming to the neighborhood. There is a need for parking. And now, we also represented that if this became developable at some future point, we'd have to replace the parking lot, whether in the building or et cetera, or deck or structure. But we would look at this as a development site in the future years.
That's why we want to retain ownership.
That's why we want to retain ownership.
But like you said, if we are retaining ownership of that parking lot, there could be sometime in the future demand, whatever would be an economically viable thing to put there, assuming we're still actually driving automobiles at this time. We're going to end up having to replace all that parking somehow with a structure to support OPE and the potential Baum space and whatever the new thing is. So the reality is we'd only be there's only half of that parking lot's going to be developable because we're going to have to build a 7-story
Build density.
Yeah. Unless we live in some future world where we're all riding, hoverboards or whatever.
Correct. The flying car, I think, just was patented.
Yeah. So, I know we've said we want to control the property, but I'm starting to wonder why. I guess.
I think it's best to control.
I understand that.
And otherwise, if you were saying there's no interest in doing this, let's just say, then we have to capitalize this into this structure, and help underwrite that through that
Underwrite
that process.
it for them and then build it and then give it.
You're essentially doing it through that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then potentially OPE gets aced out of the use of it.
We don't want that to happen.
We don't. Like you said, I've been by there. I think that brewery's been way more successful, and they're not even done.
No.
The National Avenue side isn't even done.
And they would like to, as we saw in some recent publications, and their vision is to expand off this way with production at some future point.
Yeah.
If
I
they're
just
wildly
drove by it
successful.
tonight and their parking lot was full already and it was 5:45. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to hold this item until after we discuss the development agreement in closed session, we can do that.
Yes.
I'd like to do that.
All right, we'll hold that. Now we do item number 3, resolution to approve professional service contracts for financial real estate consulting services contract with Baker Tilly in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Mr. Chairman, we do a lot of work with Baker Tilly through a new market tax credit entity or FIRE. They also have an incentive firm, performer review firm, at division, etc. We've been doing a lot of work as the CDA through SB Friedman, and we'll highlight that here in a little bit. But with the level of projects that we're seeing, I think it's best to have 2 available in terms of people to review projects and certain projects. SB Freeman's busy, and as you know, they're always trying to find people too. And we had some numbers sent to them, and it took several weeks to actually get back to us. And sometimes we're a little bit more urgent. We want to keep things going. Development is hot, and we want to keep that process going. So we're recommending to have another professional consulting firm as a resource to the CDA to review projects as they come up.
I move approval.
Second.
Been move approval and second. Any further discussion? If all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Do you want to do 7 and 8 or hold them?
4 we can do.
4? Oh, excuse me. Resolution to approve Estapico certificate and agreement related to development and finance agreement between the Community Development Authority of the City of West Dallas and Sona Loft LLC. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, what this is just, it's a legality. They're going to permanent financing, and for everybody to be comfortable with going to that, they want us to attest that Sona has met all the expectations that are set out in the development agreement. And our city attorney has represented that he's in agreement, that we should sign off on the estoppel certificate, so.
Second.
Been moved for approval and second. Any further discussion? If not, if all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. You can do 7 and 8 now, or you want to go into closed session?
What is this, 5? We have a closed session, right?
5?
We can just do that on closed session. Closed session.
That one you can,
Oh. And 9. We can
Go to
do both.
9? All right. Number 9, discussion on a request for proposal for the former Longfellow School located at 2211 South 60th Street.
Mr. Chairman, our team has been fortunate enough and been in discussions with the superintendent and representatives from the school district and part of forming an RFP for Longfellow School. This is being done by the school district. We'll be part of the review committee that we hope be part of that process as they come in. The deadline is August 10th. It is, as a team here, we did get this, I think, on a survey for historical preservation. It's eligible for historical tax credits, which is really a program that could benefit the renovation of the school. You can see it has some architectural features. It's common in some communities to see what they can do to renovate these such properties. You can see the site is fairly large in terms of 2.45 acres. The one thing to note is, this is a playground. And through the planning, we emphasize to the school district, these open spaces and spaces like the playground are important to the neighborhood. I think it's a fair distance to get over to Liberty Heights from here. And, how this gets into the final plan, we'll see how the proposals come in, but that's something that we said should be part of the review. So this is out there. We had a couple inquiries about asking for more information from developers. There have been, sometimes these are attractive to tax credit investors, housing tax credits, workforce housing type of proposals. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but these projects do lend themselves well to such that nature. So we'll see what happens and how the school district positions it. But often these projects come back and ask for if it's going to be redeveloped. As we know, they'll approach us for city support or maybe a TIF or other mechanisms. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this is out there and moving forward. So, any questions on that?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Alderman
So,
Weigel.
Patrick, you mentioned TIF, so right now it's not paying anything, right?
It has a zero base,
So
correct.
that makes it very interesting for us.
And then the historical tax credits. I mean, they sell for 80 cents on the dollar, if not more, to bring equity to a project. So
And what does the zoning allow there?
I believe it's commercial, multifamily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I know we had one developer kind of lay out some vision where he had townhomes in the back, and he was just spitballing before this. I think we shared that before, but I think there was a neighborhood meeting conducted by the school district as well that they asked the neighbors what they wanted to see. I don't know if you attended that at all or anything, or any alderman, but there was the general consensus, I think, from the neighborhood was making sure there was some playground. And we had this discussion, as I think from a city's perspective, a number of years ago when schools closed, that the open spaces are going to become critical to the neighborhoods.
Like we did at Roosevelt.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And we will help. We're going to have a lot of control in what goes there because probably anything that happens there is going to want some city help. Right?
we represented as a team that this is a partnership, that I know they have a listing price, but as you know, it's hard to ask for a listing price if they're going to come and ask for public support
Yeah.
here. So it's a balance. We have to figure out what's reasonable to help advance this. We want to make sure it comes back to the tax rolls. I think that would be
That would be huge.
Oh,
an
that's number
important
one.
factor here. But maybe there's another use, maybe there's another school that responds to the school. Then we don't have a participation in that. So ideally, that might not be the greatest fit, as we're trying to bring more to the tax rolls. But I think that was the school board's hope too, was to bring property to the tax rolls.
Yes, they benefit from that.
Any further questions? If not, we'll proceed. For agenda items 5 through 8, the committee convened in closed session pertinent to provisions section 19.85/1/E of the state statutes for the purpose of delivering, investing public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The committee may convene an open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of its agenda. Can I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So moved.
Been a motion and second. Would you take roll call, please, Sean?
Sure thing. Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Don Niemer,
Yes.
Alderman Weigel,
Aye.
Alderman Haas,
Aye.
Jerry Motter,
Aye.
Mike Suter.
Yes.
We're now in closed session.